Hello everyone, as you can probably tell from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about a peculiar Japanese TV show known as Masked Rider, or more commonly, Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider is a Japanese children's television show dating back to the 1970s. It's the main inspiration for Super Sentai, which is what Power Rangers is based off. Right now, a lot of people are going to start right there and go, Power Rangers? That stupid kid show that I watched when I was 7, why then would I want to watch something like that? One of the first things you need to understand when talking about Kamen Rider and Japanese children's television in general is that Japan has very different standards for what's okay for kids than the West does. In Kamen Rider there is swearing, blood, and smoking. These things that happen all the time in Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider has many seasons, books, games, so it seems kind of confusing on where to start, but I suggest you just watch the shows, as almost all the seasons are self-contained. There's 2 seasons though that definitely don't start with, which is Zio, which is a recap season. The other would be Decade, but Decade isn't as bad as Zio, as Decade's whole plot is it's the past seasons being changed. So it'll be good for you to have a kind of understanding of the previous seasons, but you can watch Decade by itself. There's also many eras of Kamen Rider. The Heisei, Showa, and newly the Reiwa. The best era to start with is Heisei, if you want to have a lot of content to watch, and Reiwa if you just want to watch a couple seasons. Because Reiwa only has 1 season that is still running, so it'll be good to jump onto that now, so you won't be too far behind, and won't need to know anything about other seasons. You might be asking, but what if I want to watch the Showa period? Why can't I? Well, each of the different periods are defined by tropes and character arcs. The general formula for Heisei is a character is introduced for the main character. They are either offered the ability to become Kamen Rider or they find it, which at first they don't seem to want, until due to a monster attacking people, they realise there are too many reasons to fight and transform. There's of course expectation to this rule, but this happens 9 out of 10 times. Each season has its own motifs, which can be anything from animals to even trains. These motifs can play either a very major part in a story, or one that isn't really there. For example, the season of Forze, space is a massive theme of reaching for the stars and human nature and just traveling forward. As in seasons like Kabuto, where the main motif is insects, it's never really mentioned as being involving anyone's motivations and what insects represent. But another thing I need to say before you start watching this show is there's varying differences in quality. For example, you can view the show that is Kamen Rider from so many different perspectives, and most seasons are a new experience. If you want a long slow burn mystery, I recommend Build, which is about a mysterious event which has changed the country of Japan and caused it into 3 warring factions. It's got political stakes, war, the dangers of segregation, and the importance of human adventures. Action and interesting fights. For this is Kabuto, where the riders slow down time and have insane super speed abilities. If you want something more modern though, Wizard, which has quite acrobatic and dynamic fights. And if you have no interest in story, Wizard is the best for you, as its story is average at best. Then, if you want a season with likable, good characters, good fights, relatable villains, yes, I know there's a lot of it. X-Aid. X-Aid is amazing, and I would honestly recommend it for everyone to start off with, because it's quite easy to grasp and gets you a good understanding of the show with how over the top it is. In the show, every single villain, bar one, is incredibly good, and none of the villains are ever portrayed as being evil. Talks about the importance of life and death, even racism. This season is my second favourite, and is amazing. Although the awkward CGI in most seasons of Kamen Rider will put a lot of people off to sticking for the ride, as the show does the best fights in the series are rarely CGI and just two people battling it out in practical effects. Some might wonder what my favourite season of Kamen Rider is, and for that, that is Kamen Rider Gaim. In this segment, I'm going to go over Kamen Rider Gaim and why this season is incredible and why you should watch it. This season is a masterpiece. It's one of my top 3 fave things from fiction. First, let's set the scene. Gaim's story is set in a city ruled by a company called Yggdrasil, which has seemingly randomly picked up a town and made it this futuristic tech hub. A great thing about the season is Yggdrasil it's a slow mystery on who they are and what they want. But Yggdrasil aren't dictators. They don't, they rule the city but in indirect ways. They don't They don't care about politics. Instead of win the people over with improving their life there. The season follows the Beat Riders, groups of dancers who compete for territory using locks each, which are these locks which look like fruit, and when opened, small monsters called Inves form a little arena and fight. The winners then rise up the ranks. The first episode opens with the Team Gaim dancing as they are challenged by Team Baron. The central characters are introduced in this moment. They are Mai, the co-leader of Team Guy, who's carrying a nice girl, Yuya, who's a strong independent leader of Team Gaim, who is shown as being incredibly talented at inverse battling, and then there's Kaito. Kaito is the leader of Team Baron, doesn't care about dancing at all. Instead, more focuses on the inverse side of things, and prefers just to be able to beat people and rise up the ranks. He wants power, and not to be weak. Team Gaim loses to Baron due to Yuya not being there and Mai having to fight. In this moment, Mai has her lock seed shot out from her hands, and her inverse runs wild. Although it is only small, it still poses a threat, and it is taken down with no casualties, but it immediately sets up the nature of how dangerous this inverse game could really be. Then, the main character is introduced, Kota. The guy at first seems pretty basic, a super happy, nice, and goofy guy. But as the season goes on, he becomes an amazing foil to Kaito, and you start to realize that he isn't, and he goes through drastic change. Kota is doing part-time jobs and has quit being a beat rider. This is Kota's central character arc, learning how to mature and grow up, and what it means to grow up. Then, Yuya, Kota, and Mai step through a zipper they find into a weird forest. They no longer find Yuya, but instead, they find a belt. Kota at first doesn't want to use the belt, but after he's being chased down, he goes to transform. He's told right before he transforms by a girl who looks exactly like Mai, but with white hair. She tells him that if he transforms, he and everyone he loves' fate will change forever. From this point onwards, tons of people will get the ability to become riders. The dance club will become like warring factions, competing with each other as riders. Kota unlocks new forms, and then the story gets good. At this point, I was enjoying the show, but this is when, in my opinion, you should choose if you want to drop it or not. Kota goes to try and find Yuya, where he finds a lab in the forest. This shocks him at first, knowing there's other people there. When he tries to talk to these people, he meets a white rider. Here, he gets his ass completely rocked. He fights the white rider, and unlike normal, the fight is not a battle of fun and going over for territory to dance in. Kota realizes if he's not careful, he could die, and the white rider doesn't have any seemingly moral restrictions from just killing the kid. Luckily, Kota manages to escape, but are absolutely defeated. Okay, I'm going to go over one more story beat, as I don't want to keep, going over stuff. So, in this moment, Kota realizes that, well, fuck, these powers we have, they're not just things for us to compete against. They're weapons. Herein comes Orin Pierre Alfonso, introduced, and they are shocked to the beat riders. So unlike them, it's not even a dancer. He has military experience and effortlessly starts beating the beat riders, and this is fucking amazing. As the characters begin to realize how handling dangerous weapons, not just for them to they're not just handling them to keep with. And Orin Pierre does a great job at this. He surfaces to realize them that the potential they can get from these powers, and just and how they're doing it wrong. Okay, now I'm not gonna say anything more because I really want you to go watch seasons of Kamen Rider, and I don't want to keep telling you the story of Gaim, as I believe you're not gonna want to watch it in that case. But Gaim has Gaim has incredible villains and has a massive amount of main characters, which manages to bounce well and all of it interesting and get good development. So look at the description for each season and see what interests you. Check if others like that season, so you don't end up watching a season like Kamen Rider Ghost, which has my favourite concept of all the seasons, and I was so hyped to watch, but it is terrible. So please don't blame the show if you don't watch a single Kamen Rider season, and it sucks. This this show is really special to me. It's helped me through tough times. Made me want to work out and lose my fucking limp gamer body. So in conclusion, watch this fucking show, because it's really good and I want more friends to talk about it with me. And if you don't want to watch tons of episodes now, it's better than ever to start with the new era, Reiwa, and the new season 01. It's about to reach its conclusion and I've heard it's pretty good. It's easier to start than ever. So yeah, see you next time.